Hello, everyone. Thank you for your attention. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to participate in the project virtual conference and to exchange some experience with the project management community. My name is Rogerio. You can actually call me Roger because it's English is easier in English. And I have been a PPM consultant for more than 10 years, working with project online, product server, and whatever. First of all, I'd like to mention our sponsors of the Project Virtual Conference this year. These companies are out there innovating and working to improve and transform project management around the world. In these more than 10 years directly involved with this market, I've seen lots of changes in the context of project management and related tools. Microsoft PPM has already been Project Central, Project Server, EPM, PPM, Project Online. And before you actually start, I'd like to show a curiosity. I was strolling through the internet trying to confirm the name of Project Online before it was really called Project Online when it started a long time ago. And look what I found. An article from April 3, year 2000, more than 18 years ago, announced the release of Microsoft Project Central. The internet was just a crawling baby at this time. And look, the curious thing is that the page have announced the distribution of more than 500,000 Microsoft Project Beta versions CDs. 500,000 CDs. Can you imagine it? I could not help but find funny links to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. These companies had not even been founded 18 years ago. So that's enough nostalgia. Let's get down to business. How to improve project tracking with Microsoft PPM. To begin with, who am I to be given advice like this, right? Actually, I'm not so pretentious as this title might make me look. My intention here is not to pose as a wise old man who holds all human knowledge. My idea is just to give some tips, some silly, other cool, I think so, I hope so, to make life easier for those who use or want to use project for project tracking. Not just the old Microsoft project, but actually the Microsoft PPM solution, also known as today like Project Online. What I'm talking about here is a mix of what we find in the literature on the subject, quite extensive by the way, added by the empirical knowledge of the daily routine as a user and as a consultant. I do not intend to be the only possible view on the subject. There are alternative scenarios, of course, but I hope I can contribute to the discussion. In my experience as a tool implementation consultant, contact with customers since pre-sale often starts with a very characteristic question. Do you have S-curve? This is a valid question, of course, but it comes loaded with a colossal simplism. It sounds like the existence of a S-curve, automatic and beautiful, would solve all the issues on project management in the organization. It sounds like people think S-curve will solve a whole history of bizarre methodologies that preach an excess of theoretical formalism and leave the practice aside. The phrase "the simple is good" or the KISS methodology, I love it. Keep it simple, stupid, is still here. Unfortunately, it's not the case of being so simple that even an idiot would understand. After all, we're talking about project, the most used and therefore most misunderstood project management tool in the world. Misunderstood because the Excel phase, okay, that Excel phase that accepts everything you write there without complaining too much. The idea here is that S-curve should be simple, simple in its essence. Be specifically easy to explain. But let's go back to the question. Do you have S-curve? The problem is that people ask that for an S-curve like if they were asking for a coffee. You have a coffee? At this moment, my heart is filled with deep hatred and my brain flooded with destructive desires. But then take a deep breath, regain control, and return to the question with a smile, sometimes a macabre smile. What is the S-curve for you? Or rather, how do you guys draw the S-curve around here? This, this is a saddest behavior, I admit, especially if it happens in one of those meetings with the crowded room, but it's quite useful for testing companies' maturity. The truth is, most of the time, people who ask for it don't know the answer. Common answers are, oh, we have a manual here teaching how to draw the S-curve, or Mike knows because he was who did the macro use you using Excel around here, or other stuff like that. The recurring question is, why do people always ask for a chart they cannot even explain? I swear that I will perform a study on this someday. I think it should be a side effect of PMP preparatory courses. Yes, some people come out of these classes like a zombie. S-curve, S-curve. But anyway, I'm not saying all these classes are bad. The problem is when you don't learn the concept, but you get the fixed idea of the S-curve in your head. We often get the click long time later, like, oh, now I got they were talking about. The answer to the question, do you have S-curve, is there are several ways we draw an S-curve. Some more complex and some simpler. We just have to find which fits better to your process. I can suggest you a method for using Microsoft Project's native features and that might suit your process. What do you want to manage with project? The fact is people have the utopia that they will solve all the problems when they adopt a project management tool. They will not. The story repeats itself. When someone starts using a project management tool, they think it will solve everything with the schedule, deadlines, scope, costs, quality issues, whatever. We should think, what can you actually manage with project? Tools evolve, of course. Microsoft PPM has evolved a lot over the years. From Project Central to Project Online, of course, PPM tools have features that go beyond mere schedules. They enable integration with other systems and allow management of the entire project lifecycle in a very complete way, of course. Risks, issues, action plans, approvals, workflows. But the fact is that project management remains largely dependent on people. We are already evolving to other levels with AI and IoT advances in recent years, but machines and humans have not yet merged to redefine life as you know it. While we still don't see the singularity, and the software is still a tool, each tool has its pros and cons, their strengths and weaknesses. Despite all this software evolution, managing deadlines remains a central concern in any project. In this way, the timeline continues to play a central role in our attention, and this brings us back to the good and old project of 20 years ago. Very evolved, repaginated, of course, and elegant, but very similar to his ancestor. I think Microsoft project has had 5 or 6 new versions since the beginning of the century. And what can you do really well with it? Manage deadlines and physical progress. Just to be clear, this webinar has as main goal a hands-on approach using Microsoft PPM for an effective project progress tracking. It is also good to make it clear that the language and concepts discussed here presuppose that the audience already has some prior knowledge of using Microsoft PPM or at least Microsoft Project. Anyway, I believe that anyone who is watching this webinar will be able to take some advantage of some ideas here. So let's start by reviewing some basics to put everyone on the same page. Some of these terms are well known, either through project management literature, through books, articles, and discussion groups of project users, like percent complete, baseline, status date, percent planned. Let's talk about them a little bit. Project provides 2% complete fields that we can use to track our projects, percent complete and percent work complete. There is actually a third field, which is the physical percent, but I will not talk about this moment because it's used specifically when you use earned value analysis. And I have some criticism of using earned value analysis within project Microsoft project because it increases complexity of using the tool and sometimes can lead to wrong conclusions if you don't know very well the solution, how the solution works. Let me repeat it another way. It's not forbidden or impossible to perform earned value within projects. I just think there is a simpler way to use the tool to achieve a more comprehensive and safer result. Well, coming back, percent complete is weighted by duration of tasks. Work percent complete is weighted by work of tasks. Let's take a look at how these fields work in project. You can take a look at these tasks here. 3 tasks we have. This is the summary task for the project. So each task has 5 days of duration and different work. So if I have complete the first task here with 100%, the task impact on the project is 33% because of the duration is the same for all the tasks, but it's only 12% because these tasks work just 8 hours or 68 hours. Okay? Now baseline. Baseline is a prime concept for project tracking in any scenario. Baseline is like a photo of an approved project planning. It establishes our reference for monitoring the project. I think this is one of the concepts in this webinar that's more settled both in theory and daily routine. Let's just take a quick look at how can you record and view baseline within project. Let's go. Let me show how to set the baseline. You have to choose the project tab here. You can see the function, you can set the baseline. First, you take a look at these fields here, baseline start, just for example, baseline start, baseline finish, right? When I set the baseline, I would take a picture, take a photo like the snapshot, and press OK, and just have copied the start to baseline start and finish column to baseline finish, right? If I want to see this data here in my Gantt chart here, I can't choose this option. Voila. This is shown here on a Gantt chart. So even if I change task durations like that, project, the baseline was set, and you can see the difference on your Gantt chart, on comparing your columns. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Now we have another fundamental concept, the status date. It is the reference date for project monitoring. The status date is the point of view by which we can assess whether the project is late, on time, or perhaps on scary full moon nights ahead of schedule. Let's quickly see how can we define and view the status date within project. So let me show you how to set the status date. It's nice because it's an important thing. It's very easy. So you only have to choose the project tab here and you look for the status date and set the status date you want. I set the status date for 8 June, no, May 11. Okay. So in order you're gonna see the status date here on Gantt chart, I'll format the line. Format status date, choose a line type and a color. And now you can see the status date on Gantt chart. Now a more interesting concept, a little less widespread, but not totally unknown. It's the planned progress in relation to baseline and status date. Microsoft Project doesn't provide an out-of-the-box field for percent planned. Since Project doesn't provide this itself, we can suggest creating this field as a formula field. So, how can this field be calculated? First, we need to set the baseline in project status date. Thus, we have the baseline duration of a given task here represented by A, and the piece of the task that should have been completed, that is the difference between the status date and task baseline start date, represented here by B. So we have the percent planned equal B divided by A. Let's take a look at an example with numbers to make it easier to understand. If baseline duration is 10 days and the difference between the status date and baseline start is 5 days, then the percent planned is 5 divided by 10, which results in 50%. And what happens when the status date is before the task baseline start? Ensure percent plan equal 0%. In other words, according to the baseline, the task should not have started yet. And what happens when the status date is after the completion of the task baseline? Ensure percent planned 100%. In other words, according to the baseline, the task should already be done. Let's take a look at the schedule again. Let's take a look on percent planned. Insert the column on my table. Remember, this is a calculated column, calculated field, because Microsoft Project doesn't provide this kind of field. And so I have to call consultant guys like me. So the percent planned here is around 40%. Because of what? Because I already have set baseline for the project and already have set status date. So let's see the status date. Let's try to see the status date on Gantt chart. I will go to format the status date. Just choose a line, choose a color, and you can see the status date on Gantt chart. I will move the status date to different place here. Just take a look on this task, the percent plan for this task. When I move the status date, I'll move around the beginning of the week. It's not the beginning of the week. Let's move a little bit more. Moving to day 2. All right, 0%. The task shouldn't be started yet. Okay. If I change it for 18, 18 is good. So all the tasks, almost all of the tasks on my schedule should be done. Okay. Now, we only need to confirm a premise so that we can track the project with more quality and peace of mind. Was the schedule drawn up with using project best practices? First, avoiding using date constraints. That is, avoiding manually setting dates and tasks in order to not preventing automatic replanning of the schedule. Second, all subtasks have predecessors and successors. That means there are no tasks that are disconnected in the schedule and don't depend any on any other task or don't impact the beginning of any task. If your schedule has disconnected tasks, most likely this is an error, or you should think whether this task should really be on your schedule. Summer tasks, on the other hand, should not have dependencies. Third, all tasks are set to automatic scheduling mode because if there are many tasks in manual scheduling mode, you'd better not throw your money away with project and use only Excel. Everything okay so far? So ready to continue. Now you can describe a summary process for project tracking. In fact, it's a Lean process and you can summarize it in 5 steps. First, capture updates. Second, set the status date. After, update schedule. A schedule remaining work and reviewing, replanning the schedule. You're going to discuss these steps in the next slides. First of all, we have to capture updates to the tasks performed in period. In addition to the usual methods, phone calls, email, and meetings, here's a benefit of Project Online. Team members assigned to the scheduled tasks can submit updates via the web or even through mobile applications. These updates sent by team members directly through Project Online go through an approval flow before being incorporated into the project schedule. Let's see how this works within Project Online. Now I'm going to show how users can update tasks from web. First, I have to choose my team members. Oh, my user is already here. I just change some tasks here for my user. Replace with this. Okay. Now I'm going to publish my project. When the publishing is done, now I can go to the web, take a look at my project online. Now I'm at the project online. I'm going to click my tasks link here. Okay, I can see my tasks here. If I want, I'm going to put 100% here and just 50% here. Take a look, save needed. If I save, it's not submitted yet. The process status, some information for controlling monitoring. If I want to send this information to my project manager, I have to select or send all tasks or just selected tasks. Now, these updates are waiting for approval. Who is going to approve here? My project manager. In this case, that's me, but it could be another person. So the project manager receives some email or some message waiting for approval. The project manager can approve task updates through PWA also. Just click on approvals on the left side. Now you can see the task approvals here. If it wants to approve, accept or reject the change, I'm going to accept it at this time. I can comment something. Okay. Just okay. Let's take a look back in my schedule. I'm gonna open my project again. Project for tracking. And percent complete column here just for taking a look. Just work percent complete. Okay. The task I have input 100% and 50%. All right. So this is a good method to capture users update. Once you have captured the updates, it's time to go back to Project Professional and set the status date to follow up on the project. Remember, the status date will work as a reference for project tracking. With the status date, project recalculates the percent planned, and with this, we can evaluate planned versus actual. It's important to realize that we now have a status update reported through PWA and approved by the project manager. After the status date, we'll input the rest of the updates. We can use the percent complete field or percent work complete. I prefer to use the percent work complete so I can dissociate the physical progress from task durations. After input all task updates, we get in a moment that caused some discomfort in some muscle users. Actually, I was saying some users, but most of users. Reschedule the remaining work of delayed tasks. People usually think, oh, really? I spent a lot of time setting my timeline and now I'm going to break it all? Answer, yes, but it hurts less than you think. I will show a little bit in the project. Now I'm gonna enter more updates, manual updates. I will set a different status date here, just a couple of days before. I think 8 is a good date. Yes. So let's imagine this task around 50%, and also this task also 50%. Now that's done. That's all updates I have to input right now. Let's take a look on this delayed tasks. Here, and here, and here. All of this work should have done before the status date, right? So if I don't reschedule all this delayed work here, I can't say to my director that I'm going to finish my project on this date. Now I have to reschedule the remaining work. So how can I do that? It's pretty simple. I can do that for all scheduled tasks at the same time, but I'm gonna do choosing each task at a time. Just let's see this. Can you see this function here? Incomplete part choose status date. Just choose it, and voila. Now I'm selecting these two tasks here, and press again. Now I have good planning. Now we can see my schedule completely rescheduled. Let me undo some steps. Whoa. This is not the steps. Let me try again. Okay. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to select all the tasks at the same time and press the same function here, the same button here. Okay, the same effect. This is awesome. You don't have to be afraid because of that. Now you can see your baseline. You can see the baselines and the gray bars here, your actual work, and dark blue bars here, and all your planned work to the future. Finally, we must review and replan our schedule. In case we're forecasting a delay, instead of crying, you can use some techniques to try to align project deadlines to the defined baseline. First, crashing. For reducing the duration of tasks, we can usually do it adding more resources to the task, if we can, of course. Second, fast tracking. That is, parallelize the execution of tasks by changing dependencies. And in the end, the scoping. That is, removing tasks from scope, if you can, of course. Let's see what you can do with our schedule. Now I'm going to review my schedule, trying to align my planned dates to my previous baseline dates. I'm gonna ask, oh, this is lost. I can't do anything about these tasks. I can ask, oh, this task haven't started yet. I can ask to my resource here. Hey man, can you reduce this duration for just a day? Because maybe if you work harder, don't you have any risk buffer here? Oh, they say, okay, you can do it. We're gonna try. I do my best to do this in just in 1 day. Okay, and this maybe you can run a little parallelism here. Let me try to understand the predecessors here. Actually, you can start this task before, 1 day before. Okay, yes, I can do more. I really can't. This is a little bit delayed, but it's better than the last scenario, right? So, it's over? Just that? Only this and nothing more? But eventually, an important question may arise. So, when should I set a new baseline? This is a philosophical question and a managerial decision. There is no Cartesian answer like the percentage planned calculation, but you can think about some guidelines. For instance, I don't think we should change the project baseline just because of poor performance or due to planning errors. On the other hand, I believe that scope or law changes are strong reasons for setting new baselines. When you decide to change the baseline, we can decide whether to record the complete project baseline or only the activities impacted by approved changes. Let's do a simulation. So let's imagine a different scenario right now. Let's imagine that change request was approved and we have a new task here. Let's call it like a change request. Yes, already approved. And this change request has a 10 days impact on my project. 10 days is a little bit too much for the screen. 5 days. Okay. Now I'm going to save a new baseline because of this change request approved, right? Instead of just save the entire baseline for the project, I'm going to save it. I'm going to set just this task and all the tasks impacted for this one. I'm going to select these options here just for add these tasks to baseline. Okay. And with this, I haven't changed my baseline due to my poor performance or due planning errors. I just update the baseline for the new tasks, the new scope change, right? And now, when you're done, just publish the project again. Whoa. Publish again the project and repeat the cycle on the next week. Forever and ever until the project ends. But what about the S-curve? Of course, you need to resume this fateful question. Well, the S-curve concept, according to PMI and Elders Intergalactic Council, involves earned value. Earned value, by definition, involves costs. In the case of our tracking process described today, we're not using costs as variable for project monitoring, but since our goal is compare planned and actual progress, any weight we have given to project tasks will fit. As I said before, I like use the work fields. With task work fields, we can draw an S percentage curve for tracking physical percentage progress through the project. In this example, the baseline curve is the cumulative baseline work up to the month divided by the project's total baseline work. The forecast curve is the cumulative work up to the month divided by project's total work. So the last one, the actual curve, is the cumulative actual work up to the month divided by project's total work. Now I'm going to show you a different project, but let me see which project, this one, just for show, but open. Oh, okay. Just for show some data here to draw the S-curve. I'm gonna show it this task usage view. Here you can see all data for the project, baseline work, and actual work. When you plan our project, we plan our schedule and set baseline and updates our project and put actual data into the project. Microsoft project is going to calculating and replanning all this data through the time. To draw the graph, we take time phased data from project here, all right? We accumulate them in time. Just this table is just show the data being accumulated. And finally, you can calculate relative percentage of each series here. And you can draw a graph, a chart, a line chart with this data. Voila, we get a beautiful S-curve. The best part is we can draw it automatically using Power BI. This is my Power BI, and I click this on my favorite. Sorry, this is in Portuguese, but it doesn't matter right now. Now you can see my S-curve. Okay, this is a percentage S-curve for project progress, and now I can choose projects and dynamically updates this graph based on that data. So that's it. Thank you, everybody.